Amnesty, do you want to introduce yourself and your role at TM3 and introduce TM3 quickly?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Amnesty Coldwell. I am strategic sales and marketing for TM3 and Click within the Blue Zinc business. Those are our two brands that are really for practitioners. So TM3 is for physio and Click is for mental health providers. The software is just really built to help those industries run their practices, everything from online booking to clinical notes. We just have it in all one safe, secure space. What I do is look at the bigger picture of how we're going to get people to purchase either of the brands. So when I came on board almost over a year ago, I was just an individual contributor, but I slowly started to realize that we needed to have a bigger strategy to reach more people, which is why eventually Plexy and Rob came on board for us, is because we just needed a little bit more support in getting all of that done. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Cool. And can you remember in your first few months coming on board with Jeremy, who was your colleague previously, before you picked up or came across Plexy, where was the business at? What were the main things you were struggling with at that point in time?
So we had just lost our marketing resource. So when I first joined, we had gotten a new marketing resource, and that person only lasted for about 6 months. And it just didn't quite align with what we needed to have happen. So Plexy came on board when we were kind of lost. We didn't really have the resource we needed internally to do several things that I knew needed to be done around visibility, ad management. The website needed a little bit of updating. And I guess at the time we didn't really know when we first spoke to Rob. I remember I was in my car and I could barely hear you. So it was a very funny start, but I didn't really know what we were getting ourselves into with Plexy, which was a good thing, I think, because that meant that I didn't have any expectations other than we have some resource in Plexy to use. Let's see what their expertise is and go with that. And that was really helpful because we had that call with you, Rob, in the beginning. I think it was a full day with you. It was 2 full days, actually. And the first day was me and Jeremy, who was the director of clinics at the time, trying to figure out kind of what our sales process was, because we'd kind of lost sight of the full picture. And it kind of felt, I think I said this to you, and I've said this many times, it kind of felt like a family therapy session, because we couldn't figure out where things were falling apart, what we were doing wrong. So that full day really helped us kind of get down on paper everything that we were currently doing and the sort of things we should be doing to make an impact and make change within the business.
Cool. And if you were able to cast your mind back to just before you picked up with us, you'd had that marketing resource expertise leave the business. What were the big things that you and Jeremy were looking at and you weren't sure about, you were struggling with, or the big things that you knew needed attention, or even at that time that you didn't even realize probably needed attention?
We realized a lot, and there was 2 big things. The first thing we were very aware of, and the second thing I became aware of while working with Plexy. And the first thing was that we just weren't getting leads in. We had gone from the year previously getting something like 50 leads in a month to 8 in a month. So what had ever happened with the resource change from our marketing person, the leads that were coming in just nosedived. So we didn't have the leads we needed in order to hit the targets we'd been given at the beginning of the year. So I was very aware that something had to be done, and it wasn't my area of expertise. I have been in sales for 10 years. I hadn't really dipped my toe into marketing in too much, in too much detail. So we really needed a solution as to what we needed to do to increase those leads that were coming in.
Okay. So Sorry, go on.
Sorry. And then the second thing was that once we got those leads in, how did we get them to close? So that, simply enough, we started to see those go up, but then we weren't seeing our close rate go up in at the same time.
Cool. And can you remember before the first time we spoke, and I don't remember you being in the car, but you were in the car. Can you remember what other avenues you tried internally or externally to try and crack that, get a handle on what's going on with the lead generation situation, and what's going on with the sales process, and why or how can we get more of those converting from the leads we're generating?
So we only had one channel of marketing that was gathering inbound leads for us, which was Facebook. And I didn't really think that even that was working very well. I think we were changing the ads on Facebook too frequently to see what was working. And having only one avenue meant we were putting all of our eggs in one basket. So we knew that it just wasn't enough, and we needed to, and what we didn't know and didn't understand until we spoke to you guys is that we needed to open up more channels. I know that we were using Google Ads, but we weren't using them effectively. We talked about different things with you guys, and also we weren't getting back to the leads we were getting in fast enough, so they were kind of going cold before we could act on them.
Okay, cool. And so that first time we spoke, like you said, we spent one full day initially just going through the weeds on the entire last 24 months sales and marketing activity for TM3. At that point, Click didn't exist. You hadn't launched Click yet. Can you remember what we went through on that day and the other consulting day together, and what came out of those 2 days?
So we basically, and this sounds, I think if I looked at it from beforehand, I probably would have said this isn't valuable at all. But afterwards, I remember going, we really are blind. But we went through every single step within the sales process. So I think you were asking, like, what channels are you using? How do your sales reps respond to ads? What tools are you using? How are they speaking to clients? How do demos work? You're really getting into the very nitty gritty of what we did in our sales process. So how long is the life cycle? And in hindsight, we should have known that better. And I thought that we did, but we really didn't. So that's why I say it was like a therapy session, because it was kind of opening up that communication of going, we're really missing a lot of steps here. So that first call was really about unraveling the process and realizing what we could do short-term and long-term to change the process so that it was far more effective. I think the second session was really about how to make those changes. So what your suggestions, Rob, were about making those changes, how Plexy could support us in doing that, but what also, and this was kind of also valuable, was what we should be doing and what we could be doing outside of what Plexy could support us for. So it was valuable in that you were very much challenging us to see what we were missing and to also go and take certain actions to change that. And I think one of the big ones was that, as I said, we weren't calling clients up as soon as they requested a demo. We weren't calling our customers up. We were just emailing them. And often it would be, if it came in overnight, often it would be because it was so manual, like it could be up to 12 hours before you would get an email from a sales rep asking to book a demo. And by that point, we were starting to realize that our interested prospects were not interested anymore, because we weren't kind of jumping on that lead as soon as it came in. So one of the things you suggested was that we go away and create an automated process to respond to demos so that they would get an email within 10 minutes. And that was something we could do internally. And then the extra bit that was even adding more to that was support from Plexy's SDR team to call a customer who has requested a demo within 10 minutes and book that demo if at all possible. And by doing that, we have been able to increase the lead to demo rate and the lead to close rate as well, just by consequence. But yeah.
Cool. What was that like on those first 2 days? It's, I think for a lot of people, it's quite a weird experience. You wouldn't go into that level of detail on that many things internally a lot of times. It's not until someone like me comes into the business that you start going through those things. Like, what is that like?
It was incredibly overwhelming. I remember because it was a Friday, so I remember going, I'm so ready for the weekend by the end of this. But it wasn't that it was like boring. It was that this is so much information. I'm gonna have to go away and sit on this and digest it. And yeah, it is very strange, but it also made me realize that I personally really love the strategy part, and working with you guys on that in that call was kind of like, I want to be a strategist as far as sales, but I'm missing a lot of pieces. So yeah, that was a little weird for me on a personal level.
And so after those 2 consulting days, I know you guys were working through a lot internally, and after, was it a few weeks or a month or a couple of months or so, came back and asked us for support in a few areas. Can you remember what it was we set up and ran initially to help you with that change internally that had come a couple of months before?
There was there was a few things. The one that we did first was to make sure that we were setting up the channels that we were using. So Facebook, Google Ads, and LinkedIn at the time, we were setting them up and they were being managed. So people were actually keeping an eye on their performance. We were putting the right budget behind them. The design work was something you guys helped with, because by losing our marketing person, we didn't have any design resource internally to help us create anything. So really the initial weeks to months was just setting up those channels in a way that they could be more effective. We had more ads go out, more copy go out. You guys helped us with that. And then just managing that, making sure that our website and the demos that were coming through were connected to all of our tools. So we use 2 tools, which are two different CRMs. So we use ActiveCampaign and we use Pipedrive. One, Pipedrive is used for us as a company for just managing leads and deals. And ActiveCampaign we use just for emails right now. So being able to connect to both, that was important. There's a lot of work that I didn't have the technical know-how to be able to do that. So that was the first thing we did, was really get that off the ground.
And that was specifically for TM3, right?
Yes. Yeah. So that's a good point. So that was just TM3, because the other thing at the time was we were launching a new product, which was Click, which is our mental health platform. And we weren't entirely sure how we were going to do that. And I was it's just me, myself, and I who had to figure that out. But I kind of leaned on you guys to sort of understand what are the ads that we need to put out to launch this, because that's an area of expertise I don't have. And so you guys built out copy and launch ads for that as well.
Cool. And so we've been working together for, it must be over 9 months now.
Yeah. Time flies, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. It really does fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that seems a world away, those first 2 days we spent together. So yeah, time really does fly. There's obviously a lot that goes on in 9 months working together. But how have you found that process right from the very beginning? What was that? Can you remember what that setup process was like? And then from there, how have you found the process of working with us and leaning on our support for the last 9 months or so?
So it was always very hands-on. So, right away we had like a launch day with you guys. where it was just a couple hours of this is what we need, so we're trying to accomplish, just get everyone on your team and myself, because it was just me actually at the time, on the same page, essentially. In a previous life, I was a customer success manager. So it's always for me about expectation setting, especially when you're onboarding somebody. And that was very much apparent and very easy for me to get on with your team on. Nathan, special call out to Nathan, has just been so hands-on and isn't scared or afraid to ask any questions, ask all the questions. So he's always asking very detailed questions, and jumping right in and kind of feeling like from the beginning you guys knew what you were doing. So yeah, that onboarding process, I think they're in the beginning, and then it was just, you guys we check in bi-weekly with you guys just to see what's going on. And I always have Slack to quickly ask a question, or if I need something added to the to-do list. So I've thrown some stuff at you ad hoc, and I know I'm not the clearest person sometimes, but you've always, Nathan especially just jumps on it and gets it. Sometimes we do need a little bit more clarity, and that's always my fault because I'm not as clear as I should be from the beginning. But yeah, that, you guys are always willing to ask questions and always willing to jump in and help on anything. Just to be super clear, like, we don't, until recently, I didn't have a marketing team. It was just me, myself, and I, and you guys. So you're kind of just the marketing resource, not just, that's a horrible way of putting that. You were the marketing resource for the company when we didn't have the marketing resource.
You don't give yourself enough credit for what a delight you are to work with.
I'm sure you work with some interesting people, not that you want to post that, but yeah, I think maybe because I'm on the customer, I have been on the other side. I'm like, I try to be as clear as possible, but things slip through the cracks.
No, you're really, really, really good. Yeah, and that's interesting that your background is customer success, and you probably see that expectation setting that we make such a big point out of internally more clearly than maybe others do. So that's really interesting to hear that. In terms of results over the last 9 months, both from the consulting days and from all of the work that that the whole Plexy team has been doing on campaigns across, like you say, TM3. So on TM3, we've got Facebook, Google, and we did have LinkedIn campaigns running. We've got the Plexy outsourced SDR service, picking up with leads and booking those into your calendar. And then also with Click, launching that product and driving your first users and signups on the Click platform. What have the results looked like? What have been the big outcomes over the last, like right from the beginning, but over the last 9 months or so as well?
So I would, in full transparency, say that this process has taken a little longer than I expected. And I don't think that has anything to do with you guys. I think it's just me being impatient and also just wanting things to change as quickly as possible. But I'm glad that it took a little bit longer because we're doing things the right way now. So in the last 3 months, we've really seen a jump. So we are now kind of above what we had initially seen in years previous when we did have the internal marketing resource. So when I say that, like I said to you, we were getting like 50 leads a month, maybe it was like 40 to 50 leads a month was the average. And now we, in the last 3 months on average, have gotten 50 to 60. And I think this last month was 65, December was 68. So we're getting far more leads in, and we're away from that 8 leads that we were over the summer and the last year. So that is incredibly helpful. It means that we are starting to actually hit targets now. There is an element of seasonality that has nothing to do with marketing. It just has to do with the way our industry works. But hopefully over the next, and I say hopefully, I am certain that over the next few months, we're going to really see the fruits of our labor in that those leads, because it takes a couple months for leads to turn into actual clients, for those leads to turn into clients, and we're going to really like blow our targets out of the water. So it's exciting and relaxing, kind of a relief to see, because it was such a struggle for us. Funnily, like, I'm now not managing the sales team the way I was before. So kind of like did the work and now stepping back, but it's really good to see things come to fruition now.
Cool. And I'm presuming we're fine to talk about this because there are public articles about it, but 6 months into us working together, you were acquired by ClearCourse.
Yep.
So in terms of the goals and expectations that might have changed since ClearCourse have taken over the business, how is what Plexy's doing contributed to that?
Yeah, so ClearCourse purchased us, and their whole business model is based off of their payments provider. So they plug in all the software and they plug that into the payments tool that they have. Just, in a nutshell, that's what ClearCourse does. And they've come in with the expectation and that's what we're going to do this year, that they're going to take a lot of the marketing stuff and align it with other software providers within their portfolio. However, I think so TM3 or Blue Zinc, TM3 is one of the biggest companies that they've purchased. And so they were not completely, and I'm not airing dirty laundry out here, but they were a little surprised about how much work it takes to do a marketing for a function that is as big as Blue Zinc. And so there had been plans to just take it on themselves. And I think within a couple months, they realized that it was just too big for them to do. And so, these things were coming up. I'm like, I still need to have these projects happen. Website pages were needed to be added. New ads needed to happen. And I still need the resource to do this. And basically I came back and said, we have Plexy. Let's make sure we lean on Plexy as a resource, because they know our product, they know what we do, they know kind of how the marketing process works. So it would be silly for us to completely bring that internally without leaning on, you guys who've worked 9 months now to get to know our business.
Cool. And longer term, what does having lead volume and demo volume at the level it's at, and then, like you say, sales falling in off the back of that, what does that allow you to do individually, and then allow the business to do on a wider scale as well? So
I'll do the business first in that I'm able to feed my hungry salespeople with the leads that they need, if that makes sense. And also just the SDR service makes sure that I don't have to have a team that's around 24/7. And we've set up emails and stuff, so that whole process just runs a lot smoother, and it means that we're far more likely to hit our targets, and it just becomes easier, and it's not such a manual heavy lift of a project. For me personally, and this is, I don't think, Rob, that you've actually heard this in much detail, but really in the last couple of weeks, I was hired on to manage Click, our new platform, and launch it and all of that. And it was all new to me. But we have finally hit a level in which we are getting enough users on board now to see that all of the work that we've done has been worth it. So, and when I say work, it's not just what we've done with Plexy, but as we've done as a company. Building the product has taken us 2 years. And now we are getting 45 to 50 people on board a month. And the idea is that will continue to increase. So that for me is like a huge personal success, because it's been a huge project, and Click is my baby. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, that's really cool. You shared those results with us a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, we were all as excited as you were to see us reach that stage. So, and
it doesn't even seem like it's slowing down. So it's all good news on that front.
Yeah, and there's absolutely no reason that it should do. Yeah. So yeah, really, really, really exciting. Yeah, is there anything else you can think of that we haven't chatted through that you'd want to add?
I would just say that there was a couple of things we tried that and this is why I like working with you guys. You're all very flexible. We tried a few things in the beginning, kind of threw pasta at a wall is kind of one of the ways I put it, like to see what would stick. And you all were very flexible in kind of listening to me and saying, I just don't think that's going to work. So, I'm incredibly grateful for that, because I'm definitely like a gut feel business decision maker. That, like, for example, when we started using LinkedIn, we could see that we had a really good click on rate, but we weren't getting any demo requests through it. So there wasn't really any information to back up why that was happening, but I kind of knew from some internal conversations what was happening. So I was able to just make the call and say that's just not, it's not the right avenue for us right now, because those are for our larger customers, which is a different part of the business. And I don't want to use my budget to do that work. So I was working with you guys, and you just were very flexible in me saying, let's pull the LinkedIn project and put more of our resources into other channels that were working. So being able to do that and kind of go off my gut, and you guys work along with that and trust me, is incredibly, incredibly important to me.
Cool. Yeah, thanks, Amnesty.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Yeah, obviously 9 months of work. I'm always happy to speak about how this is all worked out in the end.
Well, it's a pleasure from our end working with you. You don't, like I say, you don't give yourself credit for it, but yeah.
I love my job, and I don't say that sarcastically. And I think part of that is just having you guys and like the resources around me to get stuff done. And we definitely have made a lot of change. So we're in exciting times right now.
Yeah. Well, helping businesses like Click and TM3 is why we get out of bed in the morning as well. So it's
what you do.
As much a pleasure for us as it is for you.
Yep.